Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, June 1st. My name is Stephen Nikala, Chairman of the Libertarian National Committee, and I'm going to go ahead and get this meeting called to order at 7:03 Eastern. I'm here at the Martha Bueno headquarters. We had some French TV come down and do some interviews, which is pretty cool, on the Libertarian movement. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the continuation of our last meeting. Madam Secretary, whenever you want to go ahead and take roll call.
Certainly. So, Mr. Nikala,
Present.
and hold on one second. I want to try to reduce this down a little. Okay. Mr. Dar,
Present.
I am present. Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Mr. Bost,
Present.
Mr. Malagon,
Aye. Or present, sorry.
Mr. Vincent.
Present.
Oh, sorry. Crap? Where am I at? Nope. One moment. The Zoom controls are in my way. And I need to get back to, hold on one second. I am having all kinds of Zoom problems here. And it's because of admitting people. If Mr. Chair, you could do that.
Yeah.
It closed out my live notes. One moment.
I'm on it. Oh man,
okay.
the participants.
Okay, one moment here. Okay, so was Mr. Vincent here?
I am here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Watkins?
Her.
Thank you. Ms. Yanuskavich? I think I heard her. Mr. Chatterton?
Present.
Mr. Dassing?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Ms. Hayes?
Present.
Yeah.
Mr. Who is randomly saying yeah in the middle?
Andrew Jacobs needs to be muted.
Okay, I'll take care of that. So, Mr. Dassing? Mr. Dassing?
He did indicate he was here, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes, I'm present. Sorry.
Mr. Lamb?
Present.
Mr. McGee? I'll come back to him. Mr. Nana?
I'm here.
Mr. Thompson?
Present.
Mr. Bracco?
Present.
Ms. Cowart?
Present.
Ms. Hallisey?
I'm here.
Mr. Hirsch?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Present.
Mr. Weir? I'll come back to him. I see that Mr. McGee just entered the room, so I will mark him as present. Mr. Wiley? Okay, Mr. Weir? Okay, Mr. Chair, let me just mark these with the color coding that I need. One moment. Text color. Just making sure no other members are entering while I'm doing this. So, Mr. Chair, everyone is present except for Mr. Weir and Mr. Wiley. So all regionals are sat with their primaries.
Roger that. And Mr. Dar, do you mind keeping time for these motions?
I can do that. Not a problem.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have new business without previous notice, 85 minutes total time unless somebody moves to extend. And item A is remainder of the 9 policy manual amendments moved by Mr. Malagon. First up is common sense motion number 7, the XC. Mr. Malgo, would you like to present your motion briefly, and then with the second, you can go ahead and talk to your motion.
Sure, of course. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it is common sense PM motion number 7. It is an addition to section 1.07 obligations among board member and staff. This would be new language that's being proposed. And it would be a new subsection. So subsection 3, separation between board members and staff. No officer shall serve as executive director while also serving on the LNC. In the event that position or any other staff position must be filled on an interim basis, a majority of the board appoints another member of the LNC to serve without pay. And this would also, should this pass, the motion includes renumbering 4 and 5, subsections 4 and 5.
I'll second.
All right, motion has moved in a second. Mr. Malgo, would you like to speak on behalf of your motion?
I'll make this brief. I think we all know the reason. If someone wants me to elaborate on it, I can, but I'll leave it at that.
All right, is there any discussion?
I'm trying to raise my hand
Ms. Harlows.
and my computer's just not acting up properly, but I support Mr. Maligan's motion. I would like the committee to consider this analogous to the audit committee, in which an officer cannot serve on the audit committee. And not even that, audit committee's a bit stricter in that an officer can't even vote for a member of the audit committee. But the officers have to have accountability to somebody they're not like, where the executive director doesn't feel like it's their boss, their natural boss. So I think this is, in fact, a common sense motion.
Mr. Chatterton?
I had a question with this one. So, given that this provides that the board can appoint a member to that position just without pay, is it actually changing anything other than barring an LNC member from simply receiving pay for that position? I heard in the speaking for the motion that we all know the reason, but I don't think there was ever pay provided for that case, and so that would seem that past actions would have been compliant under this policy, with having someone filling it under an interim basis.
My interpretation would be that nobody would be able to fill that position regardless of pay.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I would
Yeah.
be Mr. Chatterton's question.
Sure, go ahead, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to answer Mr. Chatterton's question, that wasn't done with pay before, but it's just to solidify that so it shouldn't happen in the future, and to determine that it would be filled on an interim basis. There would be a need for an executive director. But the key here is no officer shall serve as an executive director, which Ms. Harless pointed out to a certain extent. So in the past, an officer did serve as interim executive director, and that's when a lot of things started going unchecked and wrong. So this is to prevent that. And then it was also added, it should go without saying, but we will say it, will serve without pay. So there is a substantial difference in what was done in the past. So this was, if this passed, the practices of the past would not be able to repeat themselves.
Miss Yanuskavich and then Miss Harlos, you have your hand up. Not sure if that's an artifact or if you wanted to be me.
It's not an artifact, Mr. Chair.
Okay, got it. Miss Yanuskavich?
I just wanted to point out in response to Mr. Chatterton's question, in the past, there was not a board vote, and this requires a board vote for any LNC member to take such a position.
Miss Harlos?
Yes, and I'd like to add, this isn't theoretical. I mean, obviously it's not theoretical from last term, but saying without pay, I think is important. I don't remember if it was executive director. It might have been operations manager, but maybe 3 terms ago, Ms. Bill Yu had served in a key position. Again, I don't know if it was executive director. She did do it without pay. So this does, and she wasn't an officer, and this does solidify that. I would like to point out that there's no requirement that we have an executive director other than the third largest political party in the country should have an executive director. There's no bylaw or policy manual requiring it. In this case, in the event that we don't have one, if there is a member of the board who has the requisite talents, this makes it clear that we can fill that on an interim basis because it is such an important role.
All right, there's no further hands up.
I'm unable to raise my hand, Mr. Chair,
Oh.
but I just wanted to add one quick thing as a result of Ms. Harless's last comment. So we wanted to solidify the executive director because that does seem to be the primary role, especially right now. But that's also in case there are any other discrepancies as far as operations manager, anything else. That's why it's also added in the event that position or any other staff position must be filled. Make that clear to everybody. So it's not just singling out the executive director that is the key function right now, but it's possible that in the future there will be other roles that may be needed to be filled by an at-large or a regional, and it would still provide that checks and balances versus the officers and another member of the LNC. And Ms. Yanuskevich brought up a very important point that I forgot to mention earlier. This was also done in mind with the understanding that the board would understand what's happening and would appoint said person based on particular qualifications or need. And this would also expedite the search for, presumably if it's done without pay and there's a lot of work to be done, we are already all volunteers. There's a lot of work that's done at any given term during any given time. So this kind of expedites it makes it an urgent need to fill this vacant position, an urgency that was not recognized in the past.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Maligan. That seemed to have slipped, but I think that's wise.
Mr. Bost?
Yes, this would not preclude any expenses related to that position that may arise if those are covered elsewhere. That'd be a correct assumption.
I didn't understand the question, but I would be happy to answer it, or the intent behind the motion if the question were repeated.
Yeah, just this without pay would not preclude paying back any expenses incurred while executing those duties.
Oh, I see. Well, no. So, and in that case, we now have an FSC. So all those reimbursements and everything would go through a different body. So if they were legitimate reimbursements that needed to be done, presumably, just like any other organization, before at least no company that I've ever worked for, and I think that most would agree, you would never just be able to spend money and then request a reimbursement. So the reimbursement would have to be approved first. You would have to know that said expense up to a certain amount of money would be reimbursed, and then a motion would be made, or it would be doled out to the appropriate committee to review those reimbursements and make sure that everything is in line. But if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right, I don't see any more hands, so discussion going once, discussion going twice. Mr. Martin.
If it's appropriate for me to, I'll try not to take too much time. One thing I would just say, Mr. Chair, is that I worked for a lot of companies, and petty cash is a pretty common concept, and it's important. And it looks like we've got kind of some cutout for that. But for a national level organization, there's a legitimate question over whether or not that's enough. I think that the key on preventing abuses is going to come down to transparency, oversight, and reporting. And really following through on those much more than trying to create a policy that says you can't get reimbursed unless, because the fact is that we all have been in situations where that kind of thing is required for some kind of mission critical expense. It happens. And we want to make sure that our people's hands aren't totally tied. That'd just be my 2 cents I would add on this. I yield.
Ms. Yanuskevich?
Mr. Chair, I can't
Yes.
raise my hand for some reason.
Oh, I see your
we
hand.
do not have.
I don't know. Did anybody catch what she said before her internet died?
I did not.
She said we don't have petty cash, but I have my hand raised, Mr. Chair, if I could be
Yeah.
recognized.
Go ahead, Ms. Hayes.
So pay, as far as I understand the word, means remuneration for a performance. That's not the same as a reimbursement. This is silent on reimbursement, so I think that's fine. I think it's not contemplated by this. So there's nothing for or against it. So I think this being silent on it leaves it up to the discretion of the FSC. And I yield.
Mr. Nana.
We're already at time for all these items. I call the question.
All right, we have a question is called.
Well,
Mr. Dart, have you been-
if we're at time, we don't need to do a vote to call the
Yeah,
question.
we can just go to the next. So we can.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I believe Mr. Nana, it was incorrect. This was 15 minutes, and we're only 10 and a fraction minutes into this.
Did we start at 7:09? That's my fault. I thought we started earlier.
Gotcha. Well, did you still want to call the question, or?
Yes, absolutely, please.
All right. Is there a second on calling the question?
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Those in favor of calling the question, please raise your hand. And Ms. Secretary, I know you can't raise your hand, so you can just let me
Probably not
know.
a good idea.
I mean, can we ask if there's objection?
6, 7, 8.
No, but-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I think that's 2/3. All opposed to calling the question, raise your hand. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on to calling the question passes. We'll go ahead and move on to a roll call vote. Ms. Harlos, whenever you're ready.
Sure. And what was the vote count? If you're going to count, I need to
I believe it was 10. I saw 10 hands raised. I don't know if yours was up, and then Miss Yanuskavich still has her hand up. I don't know if that's an artifact.
Well, I'll just put by raise of hands when we don't know the exact number. Okay, one moment, which passed by raise of hands. Okay. Well, it's actually show of hands, but I'll get back to that. All right. So we are doing a roll call vote. Was this motion number 7, Mr. Malagon?
Yes, Ms. Harless.
Okay. Want to make this a little smaller. Mr. Boast? I'll come back to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chatterton?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Malagon?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Said yes.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, it's 16-0-0.
Motion passes. Although I don't think I voted.
You don't,
Your
if
vote
you
doesn't
don't mind
matter.
me explicating, generally the chair doesn't vote unless it's to
Correct.
cause or make a tie. But symbolically, at times the chair does vote if they want to send a signal of everyone voted and everyone voted yes.
Roger. I
Do you
wasn't sure
wish
if that
to?
was an abstention or if that was
I
considered something else.
usually count it as an abstention, but do you wish to vote, Mr. Chair?
No. That's fine. I do not wish to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dar, you have your hand raised?
Can we
Yes,
mute
we are now out of time. I move to extend by 20 minutes.
Motion to extend by 20. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection to extending time by 20 minutes?
No, but I
none,
really hope it doesn't take 20 minutes.
Hopefully.
Mr. Nana missed Grand Rapids.
There's a reason why we're here. All right. We are on to common sense motion number 8.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Malagon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Common sense motion number 8. I will just go over the proposed amendments. So it's the current language would be amended under section 1.08 financial matters, subsection 5 credit cards and expense reimbursements. The new language would read, so a lot of text that seems to be antiquated and is unnecessary has been struck from the language. So the new final language would read, all expenditures shall be evidenced by receipts. The FSC shall be required to approve in writing all expenses and expense account reimbursements in excess of $200 made to the executive director or any LNC member prior to payment. No advances shall be made. No officer shall approve their own expenses. So again, this is common sense. 200 is a reasonable amount. I believe this was the amount given by the executive director when this was discussed with her. As something that could be necessary. In writing is specific. That language is specific because in writing could mean a Teams chat. It could mean a text. It could be something that we could point to that says that the FSC did approve this. Again, the purpose of the FSC, for those that may not remember or were not in Grand Rapids, is to serve as kind of the EPCC of financial matters. So they're to be attentive and understand that things should be happening in real time and they need to be on their phone ready to go to not prevent any sort of delays. Not that anything should happen in that case, but no different than the EPCC, APRC, and I think those are the only 2 committees that require immediate attention. So, yeah.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Mr. Malagon, did you want to speak more on your motion or?
No, I believe I said all that needs to be said. The reason is was in the motion, and I just kind of did the TLDR.
All right. We're now open to discussion. Is there anyone who's seeking to be recognized? Going once, going twice. Mr. Chatterton?
What is the significance of striking the last paragraph with regard to how travel expenses would be handled without that language there? If I understand this provides for getting them if incurred during business, but with no statement on them, would that be treated just as any other expenditure and fall into the process outlined in the above paragraph? Is that a correct understanding?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Malagon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's just language. I'm not sure. Maybe something happened once upon a time, but that was deemed to be antiquated language. A travel expense or reimbursement is no different than any other reimbursement. So it's just kind of to condense the language there. There was no real reason outside of the fact that it's not really necessary. Travel expenses are approved either way, or reimbursement is approved, and now we have a mechanism in which to do both. So it was just seen to be, additional unnecessary language, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. I appreciate it. I just want to really quickly ask, would this apply to regional travel expenses for regional agreements, since those are not truly independent entities and the expenditures there could be conceivably considered to be a reimbursement of expenses? If it did, I would be concerned about that.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, Mr. Malagon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, this is the LNC policy manual. Regional agreements do not, they're irrelevant here. Whatever regions have, whatever process they have or don't have for their respective regions is outside of the scope of this policy manual.
All right. If that answers your question, Mr. Martin.
I think so. Is there any way that we can confirm whether or not that's true as a point of parliamentary inquiry?
Well, I can tell you, are you talking about travel expenses for your region? I'm a little confused.
Correct. Like at the last meeting, it cost me a considerable amount to attend. And, there were some of those expenses that I would not have been able to bill beforehand if this policy were to affect me. So I'd like to find out.
This wouldn't affect you as a region rep. This is primarily for reimbursements that have to do with staff or I don't know, let's say we sent you to Freedom Fest or something like that. If there was a reimbursement that was made, let's say a staff member's airline tickets, or they spent some money on food while they were there, those would be reimbursable expenses. But whatever you do with your region and your people is none of our business.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Nana,
So,
and then Mr. McGee.
so nothing in our policy manual or anything we put in writing at all, period, in the LNC could ever stop a state or an individual from giving you money to travel. So it's irrelevant. I mean, it's impossible to govern something outside of this body with text that we create.
Mr. McGee.
I would like to echo what Mr. Nana said and call the question.
All right, there's a motion to call the question. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any objection to calling the question? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move to a roll call vote.
One moment, just so I keep up. Which passed without objection. Okay, one moment.
I'm sorry, I was having technical difficulties. I did want to, it's a really quick question that I didn't include. Would it affect?
I'm sorry, but we've already moved on past that point.
Thank you for being chair and shutting it down. He really needs to stop. He's got
Who's speaking?
It's irrelevant now, Mr. Chair.
Oh, excuse me. All right, Mr. Bost.
Yes.
Mr. Chatterton.
Hang on one
sec.
I'm sorry.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Hang on one sec.
Mr. Dar.
Yes.
Mr. Dassing.
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Maligan.
I will vote aye, and as a point of personal privilege, can we mute Sarah Bella? That's very distracting.
Mr. Chair, can you handle?
Yep, no problem.
Mr.
Done.
McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Nana.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said pass for a moment. Mr. Redpath.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Abstain.
Oh, you said abstain. I'm sorry, your microphone's really muddy, so I'm sorry. Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
For some reason, 15 something, these abstains aren't updating. 1 second. In any event, there were two abstentions, Mr. Chair, and 13 yes. Do you wish to vote?
No.
Something appears not to be updating properly on my chart because it should add up to 17. But in any event, the votes are there. I will fix that formula. B6 or 1 second. If you just indulge me 1 second. That's correct. That's correct. No idea why it's not adding up properly, but we'll manually count if we have close votes.
We'll fix it in post.
Yes, we'll fix it in post, but if we have close votes, we'll manually count the yeses.
All right, motion passes. So now we are on to common sense motion number 9, budgets, moved by Mr. Maligan. Would you like to present your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe there was an updated one here. There we go. I found it. Oh, it's also on the screen, but there you go. Productivity. So this amendment is a change to section 1.08 financial matters subsection 3, and the updated version reads would read, if passed, the FSC in consultation with the executive director shall develop an annual operating budget and present it to the executive committee for preliminary approval in time for it to be presented to the LNC for final approval prior to the start of each fiscal year. That would be my motion. I'll speak to it once it's seconded.
Second.
All right, Mr. Maligan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as it stands now, the executive committee does this in consultation with the executive director. That's not always the case. Not all members of the executive committee are doing that. Right now, we have the Financial Standards Committee, which we need to appoint members for, but that committee should be working with the executive director to develop a budget. So it's the chair and the executive director. But now with the FSC, presumably they would be looking at the financial statements every month and have a better grasp of what needs to be done, how the numbers need to be presented to the executive committee before it's presented to the LNC. So all it's adding is an additional step for people that should be most knowledgeable with the LNC's finances.
All right, we'll go ahead into discussion. Mr. Lamb and then Ms. Yanuskevich.
Yeah, just a basic question. Are there already timeframes in place for this? The language in your motion seems kind of vague, so I just would like to know if there are any already hard boundaries for when these would have to be submitted ahead of that financial new fiscal year.
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as it stands now, the executive committee simply is supposed to be working with the executive director, and they need to pass an annual operating budget as a preliminary precaution to give to the LNC. This is always done at the December meeting. So at the end of the fiscal year, whenever the executive committee meets is based on their respective time frame when they can. But the LNC always passes it in person, well, presumably in person at the December meeting, whether that be virtual or in person. So there's no specific time frame or outline for it, as long as it's done by December before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may ask a follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Malagon, do you already have something in mind for what you think or how it will operate? I'm just curious.
I don't understand the question.
This time frame, again,
I can
assuming
address
that
that.
it has to go to the FSC before it goes to the executive committee, before it comes to us as a whole. Do you have in mind a time frame for this? And Ms. Yanuskevich, if you want to answer, that'd be great too.
Right, this is what I was going to say anyway. So as a practical matter, and I've seen this this amendment kind of misunderstood online. This is what happens anyway, informally. Last year for the 2025 budget, Mr. Redpath, myself, the executive director and the former chair, and well, the former vice chair was invited but never attended, was started to work on the budget. You can't start like any meaningful work until, you know, pretty much the end of the third quarter, and data is in October. So that happens in, you know, in October. And as a practical matter, everything starts with the executive director anyway, who has the numbers, who understands what was spent for the last year. That input, you know, the staff always start a budget. I mean, that's how things work in the government. And then it's presented up ladder for approval. So that's what this does. It just formalizes what happened the year before. Todd and I and a couple of other people worked on it. That's, you know, initially. So this is how it's worked. It's just formalizing it with the people from the FSC.
Mr. Nana?
Yeah, not only has this been historical practice, it's good practice as well. I don't think I have to call the question, so I will not.
All right, going once, going twice, going three times, no hands.
I call the question.
So we'll go ahead to a vote. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Boss? I will come back to him. Mr. Chatterton?
Abstain.
Mr. Dar?
I vote yes.
Mr. Dessing?
Abstain.
Mr. Ford?
I'll vote yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes? Ms. Hayes?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I'm moving. I didn't want to
No
give
worries.
too much background noise.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Malagon?
Aye.
Mr. McGee,
Aye.
Mr. Nana,
Yes.
Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Abstain.
Ms. Januszkiewicz,
Yes.
Mr. Bost,
Abstain.
and this table added up right. It's strange, just a weird one and that other one. They're all copies of each other, so that makes no sense. Sorry, editorial notes. Mr. Chair, it is 12 yes, 0 no, 4 express abstentions.
Motion passes. All right, next up is Convention Oversight Committee report. Portions may be in executive session. We've got 30 minutes on the clock. Mr. Ford, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you all. I'm going to move to place this meeting into executive session.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any objection to moving into executive session?
I do need a bylaws authorized reason.
Oh, because political strategy.
So move to go into executive session for political strategy requiring confidentiality.
I have a point of order, I suppose. And
Yes.
it'd be so I will abstain from executive session for reasons previously stated. If the secretary would be so kind as to copy and paste, I'd be happy to monitor the room in the meantime.
Yes, and I have it from the earlier part of these minutes, and I'll be sure to put that in there, Mr. Maligan.
Thank you.
All right. Is everybody in from the breakout session? I think so. Is the recording still going, Madam Secretary?
Yeah, when we came back in the room, it said
Okay.
the meeting was being recorded. That intermission section is recorded, but I clipped that out before it goes out as an official party.
Oh, you may not want to. That was good stuff.
Well, if you'd like it, I can send you that portion.
We
Oh,
could
great.
monetize it for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great fundraising idea.
All right, so we are back in session, and next up is
I did, though, have a point of parliamentary inquiry for the chair,
point of parliamentary inquiry.
and that is, and there might be a request for information as well. When
Okay.
would be the appropriate time, if Mr. McGee still wishes me to move to reconsider the dual motion of recommitment and postponement of hearing the Ethics Committee report until the next special e-meeting that's just like our monthly meeting. Now, I don't know if Mr. McGee still wishes me to make this motion, so this might be moot, and perhaps a request for information to Mr. McGee if he still
could I
wishes
speak
me
to that?
to.
Sure,
Can I
go ahead,
speak to
Mr. McGee.
Thank you. Yeah, I would be willing to consider it in new business without previous notice.
Okay, so you do want to, you would wish to see it in this meeting?
Yes, but again, I
Okay.
don't want it to. I don't think it takes priority.
Understood.
Thank you.
So
I will make that motion at that time then. Thank you.
Roger that. Okay. All right, and I will recognize you during that section to give you an opportunity to make that motion. All right, so we're moving into LPNH and LP Colorado censure motions by Mr. Redpath. Before we get into it, you can see the block of text there. I would say before we go in, is there a second?
I would second the motions. Well, it's two motions. The motion,
Is it
the
two
first
motions? Whereas, be it resolved. So is there one for LP Colorado and one for LP New Hampshire?
Yeah, the LP Colorado ones, there's a line here. It's a separate whereas or
Okay.
resolution, excuse me.
So we'll touch on the LPNH one since that's in order first. Are you
I have a
seconding that
point.
one?
I am seconding that motion.
I have a point of
Object to consideration of the question.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chair.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Maligan.
So is this one motion or are these two? Because I'm confused.
Apparently it's two. It's in
But
the
if
agenda
one
as
were to divide
motions
the
plural.
question, so am I to be more poignant,
Sure.
if one were to divide the question, where would the question be divided? I'm not saying I'm going to, I'm just saying I'm just trying to determine whether these are
Sure.
two separate motions or one total.
Mr. Redpath, was your intention to have these as two separate motions? This isn't just one motion?
Well, it was submitted as one motion. I believe that was my understanding when it
Okay.
was submitted.
That's fine. I just wanted clarity on that. So it's
Okay,
one.
so this is one motion then.
My mistake then.
I
Okay.
object to consideration of the question.
Okay.
Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Secretary.
A censure is an incidental main motion, not an original main motion, and incidental main motions are not subject to motions for
Point of
objection.
parliamentary inquiry.
Hold on one second.
Objection to consideration of the question is only applicable to original main motions, not incidental main motions.
All right, hold on one second. I'm just trying to think.
Thank you.
Real quick. I'm gonna try to figure out how to rule on that. Mr. Bost, you said you had something. You had was it a point of parliamentary inquiry or was it a point of order? I thought it was Mr. Bost or somebody spoke up.
Mr. Weir had one, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Weir.
Yeah, so it's actually like there's no bylaw provision to allow affiliates to like recommend for the LNC to disaffiliate themselves. If you look at the bylaw, it clearly states what is allowed. And it's basically like the LNC can either disaffiliate, but the affiliate, there's no provision that an affiliate can voluntarily disaffiliate. If you read the bylaws and take them for their word.
Mr. Chair, I would ask my point of order be dispensed with before Mr. Weir is essentially raising a point of order.
All right, give me one moment.
Mr. Chair,
I'm gonna rule that.
well, Mr. Chair, if I may, I think there
Yeah.
might be a way to satisfy both. I can't speak to Ms. Harlos or Mr. Weir, but it seems to me that if the point of contention is the last paragraph of the after the therefore it be resolved, so that it would be if we were to strike
Point
that.
of order, I think this is out of order to consider debate while the previous consideration is ongoing.
Just before the.
Well, I appreciate Mr. Malagon's point. I do believe that I don't think there's I don't believe that there's anything that would deny an objection to the consideration of the question. That would be
Mr.
a
Chair,
two-thirds. Yes.
if you would indulge me, if you would look up Roberts 26(2), subparagraph 2, can be applied to original main motions. A censure is not an original main motion. It is an incidental main motion. We do have Mr. Brown in the room. I would be more than glad to be corrected by Mr.
I'd rather
Brown.
hear from Mr. Jacobs, if I'm to be honest, Mr. Chair.
I'll hear from both if they'd like to give me their opinions. And they're both, if the body doesn't object to either. Mr. Brown, you're recognized if you'd like to speak on behalf of your interpretation of 26(2), subparagraph 2.
And I think that the motion to censure is not subject to objection to consideration. It is not an original main motion. So I think that objection to consideration would not be applicable. Indefinite postponement would be, which is another way of killing it. But I don't think it's subject to objection to consideration.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, I would say that this is, in this particular case, it is an original main motion. An example of this can be found in 1220 of RONR, which talks about actually changing an original main motion to commend to one to censure. It would still be an original main motion. An original main motion is one that begins with some subject that the assembly has not taken up before. And in this particular case, they've never taken up this issue with either Colorado or Michigan, or excuse me, Colorado or New Hampshire. So it would be an original motion. It would be an original main motion. You can also find the definition here. Let me read it to you. For an original main motion. Just give me one moment. This is on let's see, this is 1016. An original main motion is usually made orally. Excuse me, an incidental main motion is usually made orally. This was not. The chief difference, then it says the chief difference is, this is 1005. An incidental main motion involves a subject already entered into that might be a motion to adopt recommendations of the committee has prepared upon instructions, or a motion to ratify something when there was no quorum present. This does not meet this definition of an incidental main motion. It does meet the definition of an original main motion, as it has never been a subject dealt with before. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Madam Secretary.
this is only with your indulgence. I do understand Mr. Jacobs' point, but I would also point to 1054 through 57, where it does analogize a motion to ratify, also called approve or confirm. And it says it is an incidental main motion. If you go down to 1057, a few sections later, since the motion to ratify or to censure is a main motion and it already categorized it as an incidental main motion, it is debatable and opens the entire question to debate. So I do believe Mr. Brown is correct on this, though I respect Mr. Jacobs' argument.
Okay. I'm just doing a little reading.
Point of inquiry.
Yes, point of inquiry.
Can we let the chair make a decision on this first thing?
It's specifically about that. In Ms. Harlow's statement, she mentioned that 1057 previously referred to a censure as incidental main motion. Can you refer to the citation where that is referred?
I said 1054, and then you have to read that whole section. But I, right now, don't think back and forth with you and I is appropriate. The chair, it's in the hands of the chair at this moment.
Okay, so here's my reading on this. So
Mr. Chair, Mr. Brown, I was going to
yes.
say, if the motion of censure was to censure, an officer of the society or something of that effect, I think without any doubt it would be an incidental. But this is a motion of censure against a subsidiary body, against an affiliate. And in that case, honestly, I think Mr. Jacobs might be right that it could well be considered an original main motion, because it's not a motion of censure against a member of this body.
Well, that's what I'm having the hard time with, because if it was against a member, the conduct of a member or an officer, it's more explicit in Ronner as to it being in incidental main motion, but because it's against a subsidiary, there's a big gray area there. And so it's just not super clear. So if that's my read on it, if that's two parliamentarians' read on it, then at this time, I believe an objection to the consideration of the question would be in order. If there was action taken prior, let's say a committee took action, made a recommendation, something of that fact, I'd be more inclined to consider it otherwise. But this is a bit of a sticky gray area, but I think we can see where this goes, and quite frankly, it's probably going to go one way or the other, and it's going to take a 2/3 vote regardless. So I'm going to call the Mr. Chatterton's objection to the consideration of the question in order, and we will move on to a roll call vote. I don't believe it's objection. I don't believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a second on that? Actually, I probably should have asked that 20 minutes ago.
Second is not required.
Doesn't require. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Malgon.
So is this vote on the an affirmative vote would be to also object to the consideration of the question, and a negative vote would be to hear the motion or to entertain the motion at the very least, or is this on a ruling of the chair?
I did not appeal the ruling of the chair.
That's why, but I didn't know if anyone else had. I don't know if there was a lot going on, so I just. So is what we're voting. So let me rephrase the question. My point of parliamentary inquiry is, what are we voting on right now?
So Mr. Chatterton made an objection to the calling of the question. So an aye or an affirmative would be to confirm the objection, which means we would not consider the motion. A no vote would turn down objection to the consideration of the question, which means we would move on to discussion on the main motion.
And what is the threshold for this vote?
Mr. Brown is trying to.
Mr. Brown, recognized.
The question should actually be, shall the motion be considered? The question shall be put, and it would require a 2/3 vote in the negative to not consider the motion. So the question is, shall the motion that's before the assembly be considered? It would take a 2/3 no vote to not consider it.
Okay, so the opposite of what I said earlier. So if you don't want to consider the motion, vote no. If you do want to consider the motion, vote yes. Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Ford.
I had my hand up. I'd like to cede the Region 6 seat to Mr. Weir. Also, point of inquiry, folks aren't finding this on YouTube. Do they need a Zoom link, or where can they watch this? I'm getting a lot of inquiries.
Madam Secretary, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, I do. The API link between Zoom and YouTube has been broken for several months. We are not live streaming on YouTube. This is an issue I need to get with staff on. It's not the largest priority, but I do upload the videos when they are completed. People need to come to the Zoom meeting if they want to see it live.
Okay, after the vote, maybe we could just tell me how they can see that on the Zoom. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit bombarded. Anyway, again, the main point here is I've ceded the chair to Mr. Weir.
All right. So Mr. Weir's on deck.
So just,
Madam.
sorry, Mr. Chair, as just a final point of parliamentary inquiry, I know that this is going to come up and I don't want any mistakes. Could you just reaffirm again what no vote means versus what a yes vote means? I know, but I'm doing it for the benefit of others because I know that this will come up again mid-vote and I don't want to have any sort of, so if you could just reaffirm again what a no vote means versus what an aye vote means.
So a yes vote means you wish to consider the motion, which means you wish to discuss it and then vote on it. A no vote means you do not wish to consider the motion and it would kill the motion, and then we move on to the next agenda item. So a no vote for those who don't want to consider the motion, a yes vote for those who do wish to consider this motion.
Thank you.
Yep. All
Okay.
right, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Bost?
No.
One moment. Oh, I don't have my caps on. Mr. Chatterton?
No.
Mr. Dar?
Yes.
Mr. Hold on, it doesn't count when I does that. Mr. Dassing?
No with a hard N.
Mr. Mr. Weir?
Hell no.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes?
Pass, please.
Mr. Lamb?
No.
Mr. Maligan?
In the spirit of time, I'm going to go with no.
Mr. McGee?
Abstain.
Mr. Nana?
I have a question. Do abstentions count? So if for the 2/3, abstentions count towards the total members present
No.
for this?
No.
No, they do not.
It does not. You're not
I'll
present and
pass.
voting. Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
No.
Mr. Watkins?
No.
Ms. Januszkiewicz?
No.
Going back to Ms. Hayes?
No.
Going back to Mr. Nana?
Yes, it's not going to matter, but yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, without your vote, it is 4-10-1.
All right, motion shall not be considered. So we will move on next to remainder of 3 policy manual amendments by Mr. Maligan. 10 minutes. We'll go with motion number 1 regarding open meetings. Mr. Maligan, would you like to present your motion for a second?
Yes, I will wait for the secretary to finish her live notes. I don't have them ready.
Yeah, I'll put it right up here. I could do that later.
So common sense motion number 1, full circle. For section 1.02 meetings, this would be a change to subsection 2 open meetings. So the new text would read, LNC meetings are open to party members except while in executive session. Non-party members may be excluded from any part of the meeting at any time at the discretion of the chair. Any party member or LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded upon a majority vote of the LNC. Now, if the secretary would be so kind. Oh, wait, you didn't put the reasons in here, right? It's fine. I can speak to it just off the cuff. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, but before you do, is there a second?
Yes, sorry.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Maligan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So this seems pretty common sense to me. We've had disruptive LNC members. We've had disruptive non-party members, as I've come to find out after the fact. So when I say non-party members, by definition, people who have not even become a basic member. So there are people that sometimes show up to these meetings that seem particularly invested, but are literally not. So they haven't even paid their $25 basic membership for the year. The fact that we can't, as it stands now, for some reason, exclude people who are not members of the party is a bit ridiculous to me. We should have the discretion to remove people at will, that especially if they're not on the LNC, at the discretion of the chair. So if they've been particularly disruptive and we know that they're not a member, they should just be able to be removed by the secretary or the chair from the Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. If they are an LNC member or a party member, of course, they have particular rights ascribed to them. So at that point, we could go immediately to a majority vote of the LNC. So if the LNC believes that member or that LNC member, the party member or the LNC member is being particularly disruptive and unmuting and shouting profanities and interrupting or doing whatever, this would allow the LNC to immediately go to a vote as to whether or not that person would be excluded. This would only have an effect really on at-larges or officers, but one would hope that they would have the ability to restrain themselves. For regionals, presumably their alternates would be present. So if it's not an alternate committing the offense, then it wouldn't really matter. If it is the primary, then the alternate would step in and that region would still be represented. I think this is common sense, but there are 3 hands up, so I suspect it is not common sense, but I yield.
All right. First on deck is Ms. Harlos, followed by Mr. Lamb, and then Mr. Martin.
I do believe Mr. Lamb had his hand up before me.
Mr. Lamb, if you'd like to go first.
Yes, thank you very much. And I do agree. I think this is a very needed addition. I mean, we've already had issues this evening with people that are not on the LNC unmuting themselves and adding their own commentary. So, I mean, I'm surprised that it's not already the practice to have everyone muted and not to allow just members of the public to interrupt our meetings in these ways. I would offer a friendly amendment. So I do move to amend to append the end of this current new language to add according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority. But otherwise, yeah, I think I'm definitely in favor of this.
All right, is that a motion?
Yes, sir. I've motioned to amend just to add at the very end, according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority.
I'll second that.
Second.
There's a second. I'll ask, is there any objection to the amendment?
I'm looking at it. I might. Hold on. I'll save my comments for debate. No objection. Well, I wish to debate it.
So,
all right.
Well,
hold on.
Sorry, point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chair. Are we now, so because we're on the amendment, the debate has now shifted. Discussion is now on the amendment to the main motion, correct?
Correct. Yep. So we are on the amendment. I guess there's a couple hands raised. If you can put your hands down, unless you'd like to debate on the amendment.
Sorry, a point of parliamentary inquiry. If Mr. Lamb wishes to speak to his amendment, I would not be opposed.
Mr. Lamb, would you like to speak on behalf of your amendment?
Yeah, I would just add again, I'm certainly in favor of the amendment as well as this motion as a whole. I think this amendment just makes it cleaner as we already have a parliamentary authority that we refer to. So I think it is just important to have this in there as well.
Okay. Ms. Harlos, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I think this, it's not that I object in principle. I object due to it adds confusion. So Mr. Lamb struck on a very important point with this, that an LNC member is entitled to certain due processes pursuant to the parliamentary authority. So great if this was just talking about an LNC member. But appending this, what right does a party member have according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority? That's where I'm getting a bit confused and why I said I wanted to think about it. I think in the future, I think a party member can be excluded just upon a majority vote on that. So, because they're not a member of the LNC. So I don't think a party member is entitled to anything that, well,
I think
I'm just a bit confused as to how that would apply to a party member. It might easily, this could just be me having a brain burp. So that's all I was going to say. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I think she brought something up, and I just like I want clarification to kind of for the ease of this, if I could just
sure go ahead.
So I think I'll start simply for my purposes. You understand the purpose of this motion, I suspect, yes?
Is this a question to me, Mr. Malaga?
Yes, the chair allowed me to address you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I think in broad terms, I do. When we're back to the main motion, I will let you know one part I object to, but it's curable, but I believe I understand.
So the purpose of this, and I don't know what the remedy for this is outside of, whatever, but I'm not, so just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that the party member has the same rights as the LNC member, but it's to prevent if someone is habitually interrupting, once maybe a misnomer, it's fine, whatever. But multiple interruptions under different accounts or even the same account or whatever, at some point, in order for the sake of the ease of business to continue, the chair should be allowed to, exclude that member. We can put them in the waiting room, for instance, and then move to a vote as to whether we want to exclude that member permanently for that meeting or that session, and then move on to that. So I don't know if that changes anything for you. I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page and understanding the reasons and the purpose for this, but like the language as it was, I'm not opposed. As you saw, I wasn't opposed to Mr. Lamb's additional language. That's fine. But yeah, I just wanted to see if where you were at on that, or if that was understood if I had made myself clear in the way that I presented this motion.
And thank you, Mr. Maligan. I withdraw my objection. I think I'm getting way into theory land a bit too much. So I don't know if there's other objections, but I withdraw my objection to Mr. Lamb's amendment.
All right, Mr. Boss, you had your hand up. You took it down. I don't believe you want to be recognized any longer. Mr. Chatterton?
If I caught something based on Ms. Harlow's commentary, and I'm not sure if this is a contradiction, but I think it is relevant to the amendment, given the appending to the last sentence. So please stop me if it should be under the main motion discussion. But with regard to adding that statement about according to parliamentary authority, is the inclusion of any party member or LNC member, so the inclusion of any party member there, intending to be like an extra mechanism or removal in addition to the option to be removed by the discretion of the chair? My reason for asking is that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that the parliamentary procedure allows for the removal of a non-member of the meeting, non-member of the board, to be removed at the discretion of the chair. So I think that part might be in line with it, but I don't think there's any provision where it requires a board vote to remove a non-member from a meeting, referring to a non-LNC member. And so if we have the intent to have any party member ... may be removed by majority vote, that's an extra consideration, which would be beyond. So I think that would be maybe where the consideration of Ms. Harlow's concern might be relevant.
So,
Mr. Dar?
I move to extend time by another 10 minutes. Time just expired.
Is there a second?
Second.
No objection.
So,
Time's extended. Mr. Nagar?
Let me address Mr. Chatterton directly. I think I know what he's getting at, but I'm not quite sure.
Go ahead.
So, just to be clear, I mean, obviously virtual sessions and meetings are, whatever. So removing someone so if someone is being habitually disrupted during a meeting and the LNC's decided that they've had enough, the chair or the secretary should be able to put them in the waiting room. They have not been removed from the meeting, right? And I guess this could apply in person, like they're asked to just step outside for a moment while we, stop being disruptive or whatever. And then at the point that they're officially kicked from the meeting, then they can't come back in. Right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Parliamentarily, I do believe that you're correct, that non-party members don't have these rights, but this has been somewhat of a point in contention in different state affiliates, mine included. And so just to have this solidified, I think just makes it a little bit more clear. If you're not a party member, i.e. not a dues paying member, then you don't have any rights. Your rights don't exist. You're a member of the public. And if you wish to follow this meeting in whatever capacity, once the live stream situation is situated and up and running or whatever, then we can deal with that then, and that's fine. They can log into the LP YouTube account and check it out. But as far as for the purposes of this meeting, like theoretically, non-party members don't even have, well, theoretically, they do have chances for public comment, as does anybody, because it's public, right? Public comment for anyone that wishes to address the LNC as a whole. But this is just to kind of solidify this. I don't know if that answers your question or if I just made it more confusing, but that was the intent, if that makes sense in any capacity.
Ms. Harlow's.
Yeah, I think debate has gone afield of the amendment, but it is kind of related.
Well, it is. So just to be, because of the parliament, because he mentioned the parliamentary authority, and I think that he's correct. I just don't know. It's not bad to solidify it, which is why Mr. Lamb adding that language it doesn't bother me at all.
Mr. Chair, may I go a bit afield of the amendment in order to address a point of that?
If it's germane to the amendment, if not, I would ask if we could wait until the main motion.
It's germane to all the discussion that's gone on already.
If we, yeah, I think there's a little bit of little philosophical uh, musings here on this motion, but if we can keep it germane, then we can just move on to the main motion and go from there. If it's germane, go for it. If it's not, I would ask if we could just wait. Hopefully
I have a
briefly.
request for information.
Okay.
Directing this to the chair, if he would permit Mr. Lamb to answer that appending to the second sentence. Is he intending that according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority only apply to party members or LNC members? And since it's only appended to that sentence and not the prior one?
Mr. Lamb, if you'd like to speak on that.
Could I ask Ms. Carlos to please clarify her statement a little more simply?
Sure. You're appending, according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority, to the sentence that's talking about any party member or LNC member. To me, grammatically, your amendment then would only apply to that sentence. It wouldn't have anything to do with non-party members.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that was my intention.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin, then Mr. McGee. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to speak in support of the amendment. Without the amendment, this is a little bit terrifying because it looks like it would sidestep due process. With the amendment, it seems like due process would be preserved and that we wouldn't violate any rights. So it makes a lot of sense. It would go from me being a hard no to me being a absolutely, let's get it done. I yield.
Mr. McGee.
Amendment good. I call the question.
Well, I don't see any other hands raised, so if there's no objection, we can go ahead and move to a vote.
I object to using good instead of bueno.
Well, read the sign. Let's see. Any objection to the amendment? All right, hearing none, amendment passes without objection. And we are now back onto the main motion. Is there any debate on the main motion?
Yes, and hold on, because I'm doing the notes. I can't raise my hand if you want to call on for me. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
And as long as everyone understands, let me just stick this up here so that people understand that this is, I know it's going to look ugly for a minute, but it's part of it. All right, with the non-party members, I do have an issue with it being at the discretion of the chair. The way I understand it is we've allowed non-party members kind of in a very permissive way. However, if any LNC member objected to a non-party member being present, then it would go to a vote of the LNC whether or not to allow them. So I think we already have a procedure for that, and that we don't really need to change that. So what's in here is what is general parliamentary procedure. Non-party members may be excluded upon a majority vote of the LNC. What would trigger that vote is someone objecting to the presence of a non-party member. And we've done this before in the past. I think the vote failed and the non-party member was allowed, but there has been objection to non-party members. And also, just to clarify, at least my understanding, though the chair's understanding would be superior, the public and public comment, I think it would be more accurately called party comment. I don't think that was ever intended to be like, the Denver Post coming and making a comment at our meetings. I think it was always understood to be party members unless non-party members were permissively allowed. So I have no problem with the second part, the second sentence that Mr. Maligan added as amended, but I do object to changing the first part. I think upon a majority vote of the LNC is protection enough.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Harlows. I don't see any other hands going once, going twice.
Sorry, I can't raise my hand. So can we, just to curb Miss Harlows's, well, not objections, I guess, concerns, I will amend the amendment to.
Oh, we already dispensed with the amendment. We're back on the main motion.
Okay, well, is it in order
Yes.
to amend the main motion?
Yep.
So I would like to amend the main motion to just say, I'm sorry, if the secretary could scroll up just a bit. So it would be from any part of the meeting at the time of the discretion of the chair, subject to appeal. So comma, subject to appeal, period.
I'm going to put it in all caps just so that we know what's the new
So
stuff.
that if the issue is that, the discretion of the chair is too broad, if someone on the LNC doesn't think that someone interrupting, 4 or 5 times is too much, if someone just appeals whatever they consider to be the discretion of the chair, if it's too arbitrary, then there we are.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. We are now on discussion. Mr. Milligan, if you wanted to speak to it or if you wanted to.
I think it speaks for itself. I just did. I'm sorry. I think it speaks for itself.
Okay. Mr. Ford, you had your hand up, then Mr. Dar.
Yeah, I wanted to make a motion as well, but if we're currently in discussion of Adrian's motion, I'll defer until after Adrian's motion.
All right. Mr. Dar.
I was much too optimistic in my previous motion to extend. I now move to extend by another 20 minutes.
I'll second.
Any objection to extending for 20? Hearing none, we are extended for 20 minutes. Ms. Harlows, you have your hand raised still?
Yes. I'd like to speak in favor.
Sure.
And actually strongly in favor. I like this. Because there's a tendency there's a tendency with boards, even if someone's being disruptive, to not want to look like the bad guy. Sorry, Mr. Chair. It's kind of the chair's job to look like the bad guy. And boards tend to not want to vote by a majority to exclude someone. So they can passively do the right thing. Sorry, Mr. Chair, again, and let the chair take the heat. So I actually am strongly in favor of this. I think this will be a more efficient way to deal with non-party members who really shouldn't be at our meeting. So I thank Mr. Maligan for his amendment.
Mr. Ford, you still have your hand raised. Was that an artifact?
I'd still like to make an amendment, but I don't know if parliamentary, this is the right time.
Okay, I'll call on you once we get back to the main motion then.
Thank you.
So we do have an amendment on the table. I'll ask the body, is there any objection to the amendment? All right, hearing no objection, the amendment passes. Mr. Ford, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend to raise the threshold for removing an LNC member from 50% to 2/3. My reasoning is simple. I think that the behavior has to be extraordinary to remove an LNC member. At the same time, okay, thank you. You get the point.
I'm going to have a question as secretary for Mr. Ford in a
Yeah,
minute.
I was going to ask Mr. Ford. I hear you. I'm not sure where would you like to put that language in there? Would you like to scroll up here?
If I'm at the main motion where it talks about a 50% vote of the LNC to remove an LNC member, I'd like to raise that from 50% to 2/3. The point being is that it's clear that the behavior will have to be egregious and not just political, and that the entire LNC then should recognize it. But of course, I think the main idea of the point is a very good one. We need to have some control.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry. There's no 50%. 50% wouldn't do it anyway. that would be a failing motion. So I'm still confused as to where Mr. Ford is trying to place this.
Where's
All right, let me go
I
back.
believe
A majority.
I believe so. So that sentence, that clause is for both party members and LNC members. So is your intention to keep party member at 50%, LNC member at 2/3, Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Okay, so it would read something like
His amendment.
any.
If you could give the verbiage, I think that would be helpful.
Did you want to give the verbiage, Mr. Ford, or
Oh, I'll
you
let
want
them
to
answer,
workshop?
but I think the intent is clear. Very simply, I would like to, let's break it into two, if you will, conditions. The first one being that an LNC member could be removed, I'm sorry, non-LNC member, a party member could be removed for poor behavior at 50%. An
So
LNC member would have to be 2/3.
I think the verbiage you'd be looking for would be a majority vote or a 2/3 vote, respectively, of the LNC or of the LNC, respectively. I think
Correct.
that would be grammatically correct. So any party member or LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded upon a majority vote or a 2/3 vote of the LNC, respectively. I think, would that be?
I
Well,
think,
Or would
I was
that,
gonna
I think
offer
that might be
some.
grammatically correct, but if
I
somebody
was
has a
gonna offer
better.
some language that might flow better. It
No.
would split this into two sections.
Well, hold.
People are jumping ahead of people, and the secretary is still trying to get things on the
Well, I'll
screen.
ask.
I think I was
I'll
next
ask
with my
Mr.
hand raised. If I can,
Yeah,
I'll
but the
wait to be recognized.
secretary is still trying to get things onto the
I
screen.
think we're all trying to figure out the
right way to
verbiage
say it.
here. I understand Mr. Ford's point. I think
Let's go back to our diagramming sentences in 6th grade.
I used to love doing that.
Point of privilege, perhaps Zoom lowered my hand, but when we go back to recognizing, I think I was the first after
Sure.
Mr. Ford.
I will recognize you, followed by Mr. McKee. I mean, Madam Secretary, do you have verbiage in mind, or should I ask around?
Okay, here's the problem, Mr. Chair. I don't, because it's a nonsensical sentence, and I'm sorry if this seems like it's getting into debate, but it might help with the wording. You can't change the threshold to 2/3 and also say according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority, because the parliamentary authority requires a majority. So there's a logical contradiction contained in here.
I see.
I think my proposal would remedy that.
I'll defer to Mr. Chatterton if that helps.
Mr. Chatterton?
So my idea would be to restructure the sentence slightly and say any party member or LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority. Then, with the exception requiring 2/3 vote if an LNC member.
That doesn't, I'm sorry, that still doesn't.
So the parliamentary authority portion, I think that's valuable, is the requirements to warn and escalate the situation absent a major disruption or everything. So it gives those procedural aspects of it. And I think that it would be in order to say the only exception to that parliamentary procedure is if it's an LNC member, it requires a higher threshold, but everything else applies, is kind of the intent. So striking
Okay,
upon a majority vote of the LNC and then adding at the end, except for a higher threshold for LNC members.
I would need this in writing. I need this in writing emailed to me, please.
Yeah, this is all sort of flirting on the edge of being out of order, because without the verbiage, I mean, unless you have specific verbiage, it's not, it's a wish, but it's not an exact motion.
Honestly,
But I would like
Mr.
to find a
Chair,
motion.
there's something in another parliamentary authority called untying the Gordian knot,
Mhm.
which you just pretend like everything that just happened didn't happen, and you start back. And I know that's not our parliamentary authority, but I kind of hope that LNC would agree to that we just pretend like everything that just happened didn't happen, and let's have a discussion and debate on the main motion to talk about
Right.
how this can be done.
I think I was hoping we'd get to to satisfactory language a little bit faster, but I think that we're going to have to go back to the main motion. Mr. Ford, I hear you. We do need specific language from somebody, Mr. Chatter, Mr. Ford. So let's go back to debating the main motion, and I think any kind of discussion as to what the language would be can be a part of that debate. And Mr. Dar, if you don't mind, and I hate to do this to you now, but if you don't mind taking over for a few minutes, I might have to figure out my ride back to South Beach. So if you
Oh,
wouldn't mind taking the gavel just for a little bit, and we are on the main motion on discussion.
okay, back to the main motion. Mr. McGee. I see your
Thank
hand
you. I
raised.
think the appropriate way to do this would just be to divide any party member or the LNC member into separate sentences with the appropriate verbiage. There's no need to combine this. This is very simple. Just have any party member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded upon a majority vote of the LNC, according to provisions of the parliamentary authority, and then have an additional sentence that says any LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded upon a 2/3 vote of the LNC, according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority. And if there's no objection, I'll move that amendment.
Okay, I'll wait till my turn in debate.
I can say it again if you'd like
No,
me
no,
to.
no.
Okay.
I know what you're saying, but there's a problem with it.
Okay.
I think I heard you, Mr. McGee, though, on the second one that you didn't add according to provisions of Parliament.
No, I did. I did.
Oh,
No, that was the no. I added
Point
it
of
according to
parliamentary
Parliament authority.
inquiry. Point of parliamentary inquiry. Excuse me. Isn't the whole point of that is that the parliamentary inquiry, or sorry, the parliamentary procedure said there has to be a majority. So it wouldn't be according to the parliamentary procedure if we're adding. So, sorry, I always call you McGee, Jonathan, or sorry, Mr. McGee. If you'd have to amend that sentence.
Okay, I will omit according to provisions of the parliamentary authority then.
that is what I was trying to clarify with you, Mr. McGee.
Understood. So that is my amendment. That was the original amendment that I moved.
Okay, that reads as correctly as you intended now. Okay, making sure.
This would be a motion by substitution, because it's making more changes than but it's still a motion to amend, but it's a motion to amend by substitution.
Motion to amend by substitution. So the next person that'll be recognized would be Ms. Harlos.
Okay. Sorry, I'll get that in there in a moment. I actually would move to amend the substitute and take out according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority, even from the first one, because there are no clear provisions of the parliamentary authority for party members because they're not members of the LNC.
I'm sorry, I believe that's what I moved.
I could have heard that.
And if everybody heard that's how we'll correct it there. Understanding. All right. Did you have anything further, Ms. Harlos?
No, I'm just typing, so I'll put my hand down in a moment.
Okay. Mr. Chatterton.
So I think the point of in disagreement is that, or point of contention here might be that the parliamentary procedure has additional requirements on this process in addition to the vote threshold. I think that if we are to remove somebody from the meeting, that those provisions are important to maintain for going about removing somebody from the meeting, particularly LNC members. So my hope would be to preserve those elements of the procedure, even if we don't use the same vote threshold, which my understanding is a majority when those procedures are used under the parliamentary authority. I don't have any objection to considering a 2/3 threshold, but I would like to see that those procedures are used along with that higher vote threshold. So that would be my point of contention on the new language to remove that The other consideration is just that I did send some language that I think addresses that point to the secretary, but if I don't think that's in order to introduce at this time.
Is that all, Mr. Chatterton? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Mr. Boss.
Yeah, as kind of wanted to echo that, the original amendment that we put into the original motion, I had a reason that we put it in there, and I think we just talked ourselves back out of it, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Ms. Harlos.
I have Mr. Chatterton's language. Thank you, because I do think it's helpful for an amendment to the substitution that I'm going to make. Any LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be excluded immediately, comma. Whoops, I'm sorry. I have too many. I have 3 screens. According to the provisions, I'm looking at a screen at the same time, of the parliamentary, excuse any misspellings, authority, with the exception that such would require, and it would strike out upon, a 2/3 vote of the LNC. That is borrowing from some of Mr. Chatterton's language for his prior one, but that would then say all of the provisions of the parliamentary, by the way, I was corrected by one of the authors of Roberts, who said my pronouncing it that way drove him crazy. Parliamentary authority, with the exception that such would require a 2/3 vote of the LNC. So I think that addresses the concerns.
I'm sorry, I believe that's what I actually moved. Sorry.
At this point, that would be just another amendment at this point. Unfortunately. we can't use that one cheap trick that far.
Well, my amendment hasn't been seconded.
That is an excellent point. Now that it has been rewritten in this way, has this amendment been seconded by anyone?
I second that as the amendment being made by Mr. McGee.
Second.
Okay. That is one way to cure it. Thank you. Workshopping live. Isn't this fun? Okay, so we're back to the amendment by substitution, and now this is the current language here, and I see Mr. Watkins' hand is raised. So, Mr. Watkins.
I was just going to call the question.
You're the last one in line. Is anyone else in line?
Is it all previous questions where we can just like move on? Because like this is ridiculous. Like, dude.
So I'm hearing you're calling all previous questions. Is there any?
Yes, yeah. Like, let's just do
calling all questions. So is it, is there any opposition to calling all questions?
No, I'm running out of alcohol, so no.
Not hearing any opposition, we'll move to calling all questions. So first we'll move to call the amendment by substitution as it reads. Ms. Harlos, when you're ready. Well, since this is just the amendment, is there any opposition to the amendment? Not hearing any of the opposition to the amendment, this is now the main motion. Now the main motion will require a roll call vote.
And I just want to make sure this is motion 1.2, okay?
Can we have the main motion on the screen or someone read it? Because
yes, I'll read it.
I just don't care anymore. I mean, this was we've been here for 45 minutes on something that should have been, again, common sense motion number 1.
I'll read it. The way it would read if adopted: LNC meetings are open to party members except while in executive session. Non-party members may be excluded from any part of the meeting at any time at the discretion of the chair, subject to appeal. Any party member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded upon a majority vote of the LNC. Any LNC member being disruptive during any portion of the meeting may be immediately excluded according to the provisions of the parliamentary authority, with the exception that such would require a 2/3 vote of the LNC.
Thank you.
This is, one second. Is this your motion 1.2? Did I say it was 1.2?
That is what you said earlier.
Yeah, it's 1.2. Just wanted to make sure. Mr. Bost.
Yes.
Mr. Chatterton.
Yes.
Mr. Dar. Oh,
Chairing
sorry, you're chairing.
well,
Mr. Dassing.
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Maligan.
Pass.
Mr. McGee. Mr.
Aye.
Nana. I'll come back to him. Mr. Redpath.
I'll abstain.
Ms. Harlos, I was going to vote yes since I.
Oh, I didn't know you were back. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
Mr. Maligan.
Whatever. Aye.
Mr. Nana. Did we lose Mr. Nana?
I believe so. It should be Mr. Hirsch now.
Mr. Hirsch?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dar, it is 14-0-1.
I'll vote yes to show unity with everybody.
Okay. Is Mr. Nikela retaking the gavel?
Yes, I am back. Thank you very much, Mr. Dar, for carrying out that mission.
It's like you were storming Normandy and then noped out and then gave him the gavel to finish up. That was messed up, man. I mean, Mr. Chair, sorry.
You know, he was putting those reps in. He was having so much fun. I didn't want to interfere.
Fair enough.
All right, where are we?
Motion number 2, I believe, Mr. Chair.
That is correct. Common sense motion number. Well, actually, technically, it's common sense motion number 3. Public list.
That's right, because the other one got moved.
Point of order. All questions have been called.
This hadn't been moved yet, so it's wasn't.
Yeah, not on this one. Yeah.
Wait, was there no vote on? Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm being retarded. Sorry, never mind.
Mean words.
I moved to censure Mr. McGee. I'm just kidding. No one second that. It's not a real motion. All right. So common sense motion number 3. We're skipping 2 because that was taken care of in Grand Rapids. Thanks to Ms. Harlos. So section 1.1 party records. This is public list. So it would be additional language for as long as the quote public list exists, end quote. I'm sorry, public quote public list, end quote exists. It shall explicitly only be used for meeting links, notice, votes, potential conflicts of interest. Now, this is actually already being done. This was written at a time where it didn't seem that this would be the case and this would be a whole thing. It's already being done. I'm proud of all of you for keeping to that. So this is just reiterating what we're already doing now, and I applaud everyone's efforts in keeping the public list clean and keeping all drama behind a private list, perhaps a paywall later. Who knows? If you guys want to see drama and that's why you tune in, well, give us money. But yeah, I think this speaks for itself, and so I'm moving this motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dar, I believe.
Yes. And I move to extend by 15 minutes. We're out of time.
Is there a second to extend time?
Second.
If not, we just go straight to a vote.
I have a point of order that I was just being polite to raise.
If no objections, we've extended for 15 minutes. And then Ms.
Object to
Harlos?
both of those. I want to go straight to a vote. I object to the point of order and to the, I'm just kidding, Ms. Harlos, do your thing.
Okay, Mr. Chair, just give me a second to just type that I raised a point of order. The public list is governed by the bylaws, and I believe the prior JC decision addressed this, and that this narrows it down beyond the bylaws and the ruling of the JC. The discussions that have gone on, not in the public list so far, I think are very arguably not business. And I don't think we've been running afoul of the JC. I do think we have been much more professional. There's been some that have been close that I've almost raised a point of order on and have not because, you know, it was questionable. I think if we're doing party business, the only things that can be private, according to both our bylaws, as affirmed by the Robson JC appeal decision, the only business that can be private are things that would qualify for executive session. So I think that the motion is out of order.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I can't raise my hand, so.
Are you asking for a?
Well, I just have an additional point of order. I don't.
No. Real quick, before we get to Mr. Malagon, Ms. Harlos, are you asking for the chair to make a ruling, or are you just stating an opinion?
No, I'm raising a point of order that the motion is
Okay.
out of order.
Well, I guess I'm raising an additional point of order. I don't see how it would be. The JC made a ruling.
Objection. This is out of order, Mr. Chair. There's
I don't see
order
it.
before
Well,
the
hold on,
chair.
Mr. Malagon, before, because let me address the point of order before. I do believe this is in order because provided that it does not conflict with the bylaws, I do believe the scope and the procedure as to what counts as business can be put into the policy manual. That's my interpretation. It's basically telling the LNC this is the policy as to the carrying out of the bylaws mandated business list. And so I think there can be there certainly could be policy manual amendments that would be out of order, but I think in this case this is technically in order. That would be my official ruling.
Took the words out of my mouth. Thank you.
I would appeal the ruling of the chair, and if the chair wishes to speak to his ruling, I'll speak to my appeal.
Okay. I believe that the bylaws are, we have to be within the rules of we have to be within the scope of the bylaws. I think this clarifies that scope and codifies it as to what is considered within that specific scope. So I think in its current language, to me, this makes sense. I don't think this is, I don't interpret this as being outside of the opinions I've read up from the JC. I think we've pretty much been doing a lot of that. There's been some more superfluous stuff on the business list that's not necessarily business. You know, we could, but I believe that the actions that we've taken, putting that out on the list, is being within the spirit and the letter of the JC opinion. So, in my opinion, it is in order. But Ms. Harlos, I'll let you speak to your objection.
Certainly, the JC opinion is in the OneNote, but no, I don't think we get to define what business is. And if we're going to say that discussions of things aren't business, then we don't in a meeting get to move into executive session to discuss those things. The idea of the email list, as described by the JC, was to mimic as much as possible the way meetings are conducted. It doesn't walk on all four. It's analogous, but we have to conduct it as closely as possible. So like we have executive committee discussions and meetings, we might have executive committee discussions and email, and those are perfectly fine being private. But actual business discussions, those we can't define out of existence. We can't have a different standard for our meetings logically or consistently and have a different standard for our emails. I do think that that was absolutely the spirit of the JC opinion. And just as an FYI, because I think we've been really good. And I'm just going to be honest. Um, in the spirit of unity of the LNC, I'm not going to appeal to the JC if this passes. However, I am aware that it will probably be appealed. And I would sign on to such an appeal, but I wouldn't personally be the petitioner in any such appeal because I'm trying to move forward with this LNC. I think if the chair just keeps order, uh, we don't need this, and we can show that we believe in transparency and we know how to behave ourselves. I would like, for our sake and the sake of our much beleaguered JC, to not have any more appeals this um this term. And but this is one reason why I'm appealing it, so that there is a decision of the LNC that actually dealt with this. I think we ought to just behave ourselves as we have been and move forward with professionalism, and this is not needed, but I do think it's out of order.
All right. Is there? I'm trying to remember. Appealing of the ruling of the chair. Is that actually up for debate?
I had my yes. Well, I had my hand raised to support your. Mr. Chatterton came up. I can't raise my hand for some reason on Zoom, so I had my hand raised before Mr. Chatterton.
Sure. And I hate to do this. It's probably more appropriate anyway. Mr. Dar, if you could actually take over, because I'm about to hop into an Uber to head back to South Beach. So,
what is going on in Florida?
We just Uber everywhere.
I know a guy that can get you to from point A to point B without any transactional, whatever. But anyway, Mr. Dar, may I speak in favor of the chair's ruling?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So, the JC they interpreted the bylaws in the way that they saw fit at the time. You're talking about 5 people that are, overruling the LNC, which is comprised of significantly more, I think 17 voting members at any given time. This is after the fact. So we are giving a definition to what is allowed on the public list and what it should be used for. And so let me just do a little bit of quick math here. I have been doxxed twice. I have had 2 different employers contacted 4 times for stuff on the business list, and I'm not really a fan. I'd rather keep that kind of stuff in, on the back end if we're going to have disagreements or whatever, because apparently libertarians think it's fine to attempt to destroy someone's livelihood. And actually, the most recent one was done yesterday, so that was fun for me. I just think this is a common sense thing. We've already been doing it. I don't see how it's out of order. Whatever the JC decided based on their interpretations of the bylaws, we are making a policy manual amendment now to define what the public list should be and why. So this cry of transparency is kind of just a misnomer for we want to be able to screenshot things and dox people or send it to their employers or to their family members or whatever to destroy their livelihoods. And I'm not about that. So at the very least, we know that if it's on the back end, it's an LNC member being wildly unlibertarian and trying to destroy someone's livelihood and ruin their life or doing whatever. All of business has been transacted on the public list. Any member of the public can contact their region rep, any at-large member. I've gotten a lot of actually emails in the last few weeks, and I respond. If it's a real question, I respond in kind. There's no lack of transparency here. There are some things that need to be kept private, and we can have it out behind closed doors. It's no different than picking up a phone and talking to whoever about your disagreements about whatever given thing. It doesn't really matter. This is just to keep things as professional as possible. While you were all in executive session, Miss Erin Adams, I believe, spoke about professionalism and some people just can't help themselves. That's the reality of the situation. We've been doing well so far, but that's not to say that we won't digress in the future. Or regress rather in the future. So I'd much rather just have this codified so that everyone understands that this is standard practice and we're good to go. I think that the chair's decision to keep this in order is absolutely correct, and I would encourage everyone to vote in favor to sustain the ruling of the chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chatterton.
Yes, so having argued against the previous JC ruling, and not really agreeing with their decision on the matter, I do, however, think that Ms. Harlos is correct that this does not comply with the provisions of that ruling. So I agree that this is out of order. Specifically, I think their language was to the effect that bylaws require votes and actions related to motions to be included, and that the inclusion of the additional words would prohibit the exclusion of debate when debate does occur on a motion.
I have a
So
parliamentary
I
inquiry.
think that the language here would not be compliant with that, as I understand the intent for its implementation.
Did I hear somebody else wishing to be recognized?
I had a point of parliamentary inquiry, or maybe a point of order. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
So people have just cited random things in the JC opinion and in the bylaws. Do we have actual verbiage? Because Mr. Chatterton just referenced, votes are in this language. So votes are part of what would be part of the public list. People just seem to be saying things, and there's no cited anything that we can put on the screen for everyone to see. We're just saying whatever. Does anyone have a citation, or does the chair himself have the interim chair, I guess the vice chair, have a citation or something where we can do that? And I guess to carry on that point, a JC decision that was already made and something being done after the fact, can someone explain to me, or can the chair explain to me how that has any bearing on the motion at hand? Because I'm confused.
For myself, I do not have that prepared to present at this time. I'll now recognize Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If it pleases the chair, I would kind of just respond.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. As a point of we have two parliamentarians on. Would you allow Mr. Jonathan Jacobs to be recognized to speak on this?
I would object.
I would like a parliamentarian to speak on this.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but the member can we call the member to order?
Parliamentary inquiry that was not satisfied. So if you don't have the answer, Mr. Chair, respectfully, I would like.
I did not realize Mr. Jacobs was wishing to be recognized.
I don't know if he is. I'm just saying we have two parliamentarians, and I would like to hear from Mr. Jonathan.
Would either of the parliamentarians on the call?
I would object to that, Mr. Dar. Neither of the parliamentarians are actually retained by the LNC, and one of them argued in the JC decision, and I just don't think that's appropriate.
Mr. Chair, if I could reclaim the floor. I think
there's a parliamentary inquiry to hear from one of the parliamentarians at the chair.
Just a moment, Mr. Martin, you'll be right up next. Did either of the parliamentarians wish to be recognized? Because that might not even, the objection might not even matter. I am not from either of them. So
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Which opinion is Ms. Harlos referring to?
Mr. Chair.
So you do wish to be recognized, and Ms. Harlos is now objecting to that.
Right,
Okay.
because I believe essentially Mr. Malagon is asking for a point of personal privilege to hear from the parliamentarians. That does get voted on by the LNC if there's an objection to the point of personal privilege.
Yes.
And
I just wanted to see if you wanted to be recognized before putting that to a vote, because if you didn't want to be, then it didn't even matter. So yes, we can vote on if we want to hear that, since there was an objection. And since you objected, I presume that there is an objection to it, so I can't just do my quick trick of no objection. So would you mind running a vote on that, Ms. Harlos?
Point of order. I believe it was raised as a point of parliamentary inquiry, which makes the point out of order. And so I would just politely suggest to the chair that he could rule the point out of order and we could continue with discussion so we can move on. I wouldn't mind giving a parliamentarian a stab at this. It's unclear what the substance of that is and why it's germane to the discussion at this point.
And I see Mr. Nikela is wishing to be recognized. Does he wish to take the gavel back? Because that would be.
I am back. I am on the road. So yeah, if you want, it's up to you, Mr. Dar. If you'd like to hand it back, I am available. And
I would be happy to. I tossed the gavel back to the director.
absolutely. So it sounds like we were in some discussion. There was a question as to whether or not Mr. Jacobs would be recognized. That was objected to.
That is correct.
Typically, in that situation, we just take it to a vote, majority, yay or nay. So is that what Mr. Maligan, I think you were the one that wished to.
I think that might be where we're at, Mr. Chair. I would think that we'd want to hear from a parliamentarian on a matter that everyone seems to be apparently an expert on. So if we're going to vote to hear what Mr. Jacobs has to say, yeah, let's go to a vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I was recognized when the point was raised, and I would be happy to just yield my time to Mr. Jonathan Jacobs if it's okay with you.
I have there's no such thing as yielding.
Hold on. Yeah, I agree with Ms. Harlow. So we still have to vote regardless because any member who's not on the board, we would have to, if there is objection, it would be up to a majority vote of the board whether or not that person is heard from. So at this time, I'll ask all in favor of hearing from Mr. Jacobs, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I would be 7 if I can't raise my hand on the thing for whatever reason.
Okay, I'm seeing 8, and then Mr. Maligan 9, Andrew Watkins 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I would be 10.
Ms. Harlow, what's quorum?
We're out of time, Mr.
I'll move to extend time by 10 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection?
Objection.
Object.
All right. Well, I guess that would supersede the current. Well, no, actually, since we're in the middle, let's dispense with this first. So, Ms. Harlow, what is quorum?
Well, quorum's not relevant here, but
I mean, what's the majority? I'm sorry.
Well, a majority is those present and voting. If you still have to take the noes.
All right. So I've got 10 ayes for hearing from Mr. Jacobs. Those objecting to hear from Mr. Jacobs, please raise your hand. Those in objection.
There are 2 artifacts on there.
So I see Ms. Hayes, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Hirsch.
Artifact from the ayes. So there's only 3. So it's 10 to
Sorry,
3.
mine is an artifact.
Okay, so the ayes looks like the ayes have it. So now we are on the extension of time, which if we extend, we'll hear from Mr. Jacobs. There was an objection. So all in favor of extending for 10 minutes, please raise your hand.
I'm trying to take mine down. And I can't take mine down, Mr. Chair.
5, 6, 7. I won't include you in the tally. 2, 3, 6. I'm seeing 6 in favor of extending time.
7 if you count me. I count
7.
me.
And I see 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus Mr. Maligan. That's 8. All those objecting to the extension of time, please raise your hand. All those objecting, please raise your hand. I see Ms. Harlow's, Mr. Dar, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Hayes.
He's an artifact.
Okay, so that's only 3.
No.
All right. And Mr. Redpath. So, okay. So the ayes have it to extend time for 10 minutes. So we will go ahead and extend time. Mr. Jacobs, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would need a question, or I would have a question as to what opinion is being referred to, because I might not have an opinion if it is not the one I'm thinking of.
I believe Mr. Malagon had asked for you to be.
So, I mean, Mr. Chair, I can for this
Sure.
quickly. So, whether this motion was in order or not is the question.
Okay, but which JC opinion was being referred to?
I believe the one about the public list. So that would have been the one in December, the last one, I think, whichever one that was.
Okay, not the one.
If I may, JJ, it's Robson versus the LNC.
I was mistaken. It was Van Alstyne, I believe.
Excuse me.
Ms. Robson, I think, argued it. Wait, hold on. I can look
Yes,
it up on Lpedia.
I have that opened already. It was Robson versus LNC, and
Okay,
it was
thank you.
Miss Van Alstyne and myself that spoke for the separate sides on that.
Okay. Basically, I hate to tell you all this, but I've not formed an opinion on that opinion in particular. I would note that there would be certain things in here with this, with the way that this rule is worded, that would clearly not be a violation of anything that the LNC has, or excuse me, that the JC has determined. So that it would not be universally out of order. There may be certain things that would be applied under this that would be out of order. But I think that the rule would have to be completely and totally out of order in order to rule it out of order. I know that it sounds a little bit convoluted, but if something would, the rule would not be out of order, but something enacted under that rule could be out of order. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually.
Probably not.
No, actually, well, to me, it made sense.
Probably not, but I believe it would be in order on that ground, but that does not imply that any action taken under that rule would be in order.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Jacobs. This is Meredith Hayes. And I might be asking a very dumb question right now. I apologize. But as far as I'm concerned, does the JC opinion have like the force of law?
I would have to take a look at that. I think it could be binding unless it was something that was taken in violation of the bylaws.
Thank you.
And I'm not really, I would have to take a look at that opinion very seriously and give you a much more educated answer than I'm capable of doing right now with this just being popped up. But the rule would be such that something enacted under it may or may not be out of order. But I don't believe the rule in its totality would be out of order. So probably be in order to permit it. It would of course be subject to appeal to the JC as well. So there you have it. That's it for me.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to call all previous questions.
All right, there's a motion to call all previous questions. So that would include the appeal. That would include the main motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection to calling all previous questions?
Object.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to a vote. I believe that's a 2/3.
Yes.
2/3. All right, all in favor of calling all previous questions, raise your hand. All right, I'm seeing 10 hands. Mr. Malagon, are you unable to raise your hand?
Yeah, so I'm 12. I just counted. I would be the 12th person to raise their hand.
I'm seeing 10. I think it'd be 11, unless there's somebody else here.
Let me just double check.
I'm seeing 10 as well, Mr. Chair.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would be 11. Someone there would have been an artifact. Apologies.
All right, and then all opposed to calling all previous questions, please raise your hand. That's 10-1. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right, I believe that's 2/3. So we'll move on to a roll call vote, Madam Secretary, on the appeal of the ruling of the chair.
And as a point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chair, an aye vote would sustain your ruling and a nay vote would overturn your ruling. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I just need to duplicate a ballot. So give me 1 second. Okay. Mr. Boss. I will come back. Mr. Chatterton.
Pass, please.
Mr. Dar.
No.
Mr. Dassing.
Yes, to uphold the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Ford.
Yes, please.
I will vote no. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Maligan.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Nana.
No.
Mr. Redpath.
Sorry, as a point
No.
of parliamentary, that was Mr. Hirsch. Mr. Nana is not here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Maligan. Mr. Thompson.
No.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yeah.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
Mr. Bost. Did we lose Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Chatterton.
I can pass again while the other people vote.
Mr. Ford.
Actually, I abstain. I'm sorry, Madam Secretary.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ford.
I'll say yes.
So back to you, Mr. Chatterton.
Go with no.
Okay, Mr. Chair, it's 9 yes, 6 no, 1 abstention.
As a point of parliamentary inquiry, would the chair voting yes on his own motion to sustain his own ruling, would that be the 2/3 threshold? Is that correct?
It doesn't require a 2/3. His ruling is sustained as it is.
Oh, apologies.
All right, so 9-6. That's 2/3. So the motion is in order since all previous motions were called. Then that means we'll go immediately to the vote of the motion in question. So, Ms. Harlos, whenever you're ready for a ballot.
Mr. Bost.
Pass.
Mr. Chatterton.
No.
Sorry. Mr. Dar.
No.
Mr. Dessing.
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Pass. I just got back. Thank you.
I will vote no. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Maligan.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Nana.
No.
Hirsch, Mr. Hirsch.
Oh,
Hirsch.
God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Hirsch. You were no?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Redpath.
No.
Mr. Thompson.
This is Coward.
No.
No.
Oh, this is Mr. Coward. Okay, thank you. Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yeah.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
Mr. Bost.
Abstain.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Yes, 961, I believe there is a question as to whether this is a special rule of order or a standing rule.
Still 2/3, correct?
If it's a special rule of
9
order,
to 6.
which I believe it is, it would require 2/3.
Okay. Well, in either case, it does pass.
If
Yep,
it was
so
a standing rule, it would.
Wait, so just as a point of parliamentary inquiry, is the secretary saying that if Mr. Nikela votes aye, the motion passes? If he abstains or votes no, the motion does not pass?
No, Mr. Maligan, I'm saying the question rests right now on the vote threshold. Under either vote threshold, Mr. Nikela's vote won't make a difference. If it requires a 2/3 vote because it's a special rule of order, it would fail no matter what Mr. Nikela voted. If it was a standing rule, which would require a majority, it would pass no matter how Mr. Nikela voted.
So the question now becomes whether it's a standing rule versus a special rule. Is that my understanding?
Yes, Mr. Maligan.
Could we get a ruling on that? Because that seems very innocuous.
Um,
Because I think it's a standing rule, but no.
I move to extend time by 3 weeks.
We need Mr. Ford to
Second.
say, I don't want this meeting to ever end.
Second. So is the question?
I'm no mathematician, but isn't this 2/3?
No, in order for it to be 2/3, the yeses have to be twice as many as the nos.
So I guess my point of parliamentary inquiry is this a standing rule of order or a special rule of order? If it's special, then it doesn't matter what happens, but if it's standing, it's passed as is.
Give me one moment here. Can you scroll back up to the language?
Sorry, right there.
Let me see here. All public exhibits, it's interest. Do any of our resident parliamentarians want to give any input whether or not this is a standing rule versus a
Are you
special
calling?
rule?
Are you calling and do I have permission?
Without objection, Mr. Jacobs, and if other parliamentarians on the call, I would ask for their input as well.
In my opinion, it is a special rule because it does deal with the transaction of business within a meeting or in a meeting-like situation, or the duties of the officers thereunto. That would be my first blush. The only thing that would create a problem is that this is not being done within an actual meeting, but it is being done in a meeting-like circumstance. I believe Mr. Brown has some comments.
Mr. Brown, you're recognized.
Yeah, it's a very close call, but in my opinion, and apparently based on what Mr. Jacobs just said, I would concur with him. This has to do with the orderly conduct of business in a meeting and with the duties of officers. I believe it is in the nature of a special rule of order and not a standing rule. The standing rule normally has to do with the administrative affairs of an organization, such as who signs the checks, who shall be responsible for opening a clubhouse, that sort of thing. If it has to do with the conduct of business in a meeting, and this is essentially a meeting, it would be a special rule of order. So although it's a close call, I would say I believe it's more in the nature of a special rule of order.
Well, the fact that it is supplementary, I guess would make it a special rule. So in that case, then motion fails for lack of 2/3 vote.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
All right, there's a motion
Second.
to adjourn
Object.
and a second. We'll go
Since
to
motion number one.
there's a motion and a second.
Since adjournment motion number one.
Madam Secretary, if you can.
One moment.
And we're fighting the state hard tonight.
If we subject the state to this, they'll cave.
Is that what we call this?
The night is young. I could still end up in a Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. So
Mr. Brown's hand's raised, and I don't know if that's an artifact, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Brown objects to leaving.
Okay, it was an artifact.
It's an artifact.
Mr. Bost?
Oh, are we voting to adjourn?
Yes. Mr. Chatterton?
Abstain.
Mr. Dar?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Abstain.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
I will vote no. Ms. Hayes?
Oh, hell yes.
Mr. Lamb?
No.
Mr. Maligan?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Nana?
Yes, Mr. Hirsch.
Mr. Hirsch. I'm sorry. Mr. Redpath?
No.
Is it going to be Mr. Thompson or Ms. Coward?
There'll be one of us. Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yep.
Mr. Watkins?
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, it is 10-3-2. It doesn't seem to add up right. There's missing a vote. It's another one of those that didn't add up right, but in either event, it would have been, won't make a difference.
motion passes. We are adjourned as of 9:55 p.m.